Okay, thank you very much. This is my home, the BedZED eco-village in South London. And this was a project, I guess, when we started it, which was a statement of great optimism. And we have tried to create a community here where I live, where I work, where my colleagues live and work as well, where we are trying to make it easy for people to lead happy and healthy lives, but within the environmental limits of the planet. And we're pleased to say that 70% of our residents who have moved in say that their lives are significantly better than where they lived before. Now, this project was completed in 2002. Now, in the 10 years since then, actually, the climate science has become a lot clearer. The environmental limits of our planet have become a lot clearer. And the situation, unfortunately, is a lot worse than we thought. And in fact, on any of the key environmental indicators, none of them suggest that the future is going to be a happy one. And that's going to happen within our lifetime, not in the next generation. So let's just look at one of those indicators, ecological footprint. There are about 11.2 billion hectares of productive land and sea on the planet from which to meet our needs. There are currently somewhere over 7 billion people on the planet. So we have 1.6 hectares of productive land and sea, so farmland, forestry land, fisheries, on the planet from which to meet our needs. And our target should be to do that within 1.6 hectares per person. So if that's our target, if we live in Mozambique, it takes about 0.6 hectares of productive land and sea to meet the needs of the average person in Mozambique. In the UK, we're somewhere between 5 and 6 hectares. And here in Luxembourg, it came as a surprise to me, is that it's actually about 14 hectares per person. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if everyone on Earth had lifestyles and patterns of consumption that we have, for example, in the UK, which is the European average, we would need 3 planets worth of resources to support us. If everyone had footprints like the average person in Luxembourg, we would need somewhere between 6 to 8 planets. So our challenge really is to look at ways where we can improve our quality of life, but within the limits, the environmental boundaries of one planet. That's why we call it one planet living. Now, actually, when we talk to scientists, we don't actually know whether it's 5 to midnight, or increasingly scientists are saying it's 5 past midnight. So we are in this situation where maybe we've passed the critical tipping points. And so why, when we have this science, are we still, as a society, doing so little, when we have so many solutions, when we know the facts? Well, this is one fact which may shed light on that. Psychologists tell us that as human beings, we are more optimistic than reality or the facts tell us that we should be. So, for example, for those of us who are drivers, most of us think we're better than average at driving. But actually, only half of us are better than average. Most of us think we're better looking than average, but only half of us are. But maybe that's a good life skill. More seriously, if we're smokers, we underestimate the risks to our health of smoking. And so you can do all these facts and do these surveys and actually quantify this. If we are chief financial officers or economists, we grossly overestimate our ability to predict the markets. So we are built to be optimistic, which can be helpful, but it's also problematic when we come to facing issues like environmental issues. So we have no choice but to reinvent the future, because the future we're heading to at the moment is not a happy one. We can use social sciences, environmental sciences, and economic sciences to help us do that. So a courageous man, Winston Churchill, said, for example, we shape our buildings and then they shape us. He didn't mean this, but it's absolutely true. If we look at our health statistics, when we build sprawling, car-dependent suburbs, we increase the probability of people ending up this shape. So not only do we have very high carbon-emitting suburbs or cities when we do this, we also end up closer to this shape. When we build more walkable communities and cyclable communities and integrate exercise into our everyday lives, we end up closer to this shape. In fact, now there are even conferences about how we design cities to improve the health of people. But we took some of these basic facts and evidence, and we've incorporated into the developments we're working around the world. And a couple of years ago, we just finished a second development of ours, one Brighton on the south coast of England, in the seaside town of Brighton and Hove. And the probabilities play out. So, for example, this is one of the residents who moved in. They used to own cars, they sold it, they joined the car club there, they walked and cycled more, they heard about One Planet Living, had a bit of a lifestyle makeover, looked at their diet, and as Sylvia said here, my husband and I moved in 18 months ago, and between us, we have lost 35 kilos in 18 months. So probabilities will play out, and we can use evidence and we can use science to actually create communities which will not only improve our health, but also reduce carbon emissions. And this whole development is run completely off renewable energy. And the concept of One Planet Living is now being used all around the world, from new cities such as Masdar City in the United Arab Emirates, new villages, so being built out in Seattle in USA, on Bainbridge Island is the Grow community, to restoring whole new landscapes, for example, the Mata de Sesimbra project in Portugal. And so people all around the world are starting to adopt this concept and starting to put in practice all sorts of sustainability solutions, not just the framework we've created, but these are some of the projects that we're working on. And we're finding it's creating products and services and communities which improve quality of life at the same time as reducing our environmental impact. And for the people who are going to live in our communities, use our products and services, for the businesses we're involved in, for the investors who are starting to invest more and more into these projects, it's about de-risking the future as much as improving quality of life. So we are very pleased that actually a One Planet community is being proposed here for Ollerich village in Luxembourg. And if you read in the papers today, you can find out a lot more about this project being promoted by the developer Schuler here, who are being very courageous in putting forward some new plans, new ideas. And that courage needs to be matched by the city of Luxembourg to support this project and to allow them to move ahead quickly on this project, because we need these sorts of solutions now to show us where the future might be. So I'm hoping to come back in a couple of years' time and see the first building starting to be constructed on this site. And we've done the figures, we've done the modeling. So we can move from our 8-planet lifestyle in Luxembourg today down to a 1-planet lifestyle and improve quality of life at the same time. So it can be done, and projects all around the world are showing how this can be done. So these are two of my neighbors. To finish off, Tom and Janetta, who moved into BedZED 10 years ago when Janetta was pregnant with her first child. And as their family grew, they were in a 1-bedroom apartment. They waited till their 3-bedroom home was available within the BedZED Eco Village and moved into that home. So they like it so much there that they want to continue living there. And it is this quality of life, I think, which can also be a major driver for One Planet Living. So we needn't sacrifice quality of life or health and happiness as we move to a more sustainable future and the future we want. So I'm going to finish by leaving you with a question. Given all the facts and all the evidence, all the solutions we know are out there, is it more courageous to aim for One Planet Living or not to aim for One Planet Living? So I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much. How that happen?